if anybody talks about content of character by taking it out of context, it's about the beyond. Let's talk about that next on Get Right with Lenny McAllister, starting right
now. Get Right with Lenny McAllister.
I have a dream today.
The way we help bring back America and we build the bridges and bring people together is by making sure we hold everybody accountable in a 360 fashion. So let me close with this. Yes, there is a change that we can believe in, but it will never come from a politician or a government program. We got to move away from the American Idol soundbite nature of politics and back to the American statesman of humble servant leadership that we used to see in politics. It is time to reel in government. It is time to roll out the era of the new American citizen.
If we can continue to get some common sense governing from both sides of the aisle, we can finally get Americans through the recession, not just Wall Street.
We need people that can change the crisis that we're seeing, and that's why, as a proud Republican, I go through the jail ministry. I speak to the kids in the streets. So I'm never going to lay down being a Republican or being a conservative, just as much as I'll never lay down being a proud African American.
I feel like a black Republic, money I got coming in.
Yes, it's Dr. King's birthday. Yes, it's a time to reflect. And yes, it's a time to talk about us all coming together as one big team and as Americans first and foremost. I get that. But with that said, these are days when people start taking people's quotes and mixing them up and using them for other means and motives and everything else. And I'm sorry. I want to talk about that today here on Get Right with Lenny McAllister. You know the drill. You know where to find me on Twitter. It's LennyMcAllister. On Facebook, Two Walls, same dude, same guy. Hit one of those three things up. Because I'm telling you, you probably are not going to be too happy with me. And here's why. I'm already paying attention to Twitter. It's the actual birthday of Michael King, who became Martin Luther King by way of Daddy King changing his name, which not a lot of people know that, by the way. Listen, and this is just a belief that I believe in, and others and other cultures believe in this as well. When you change your name, you kind of change your destiny. You change the energy of who you are. It's almost like having another life. It makes you wonder if Michael King would have been as powerful as Martin Luther King. You know, I mean, you can say he would have been just as brilliant and this, that, and the other. You know, truth be told, talent is talent. But there's something to be said about having the whole package. When you have the name, the residence in your name, and you have the talent, and you apply it. So something, just a little trivia for you on Dr. King's actual birthday. But now that I got a little sidetracked with a little bit of trivia, that'll be your daily double for the day, Alex. With that said, you know, these are days when people start picking apart the I have a dream speech and start applying it all Willy Wonka type of ways, and it bothers me. And I'm not going to even act like it doesn't bother me, but it does. And I'm already seeing it on Twitter. So stop. For those of you that are out there doing this shenanigans, this type of tomfoolery, this type of twisted definition, application, understanding, or whatever you want to call it, of history and what transpired 50 years ago, now 50 years plus some months, at the I Have a Dream speech during the March on Washington, please stop, because there are already people out there talking about content of character and how Dr. King would be ashamed of Jesse Jackson, his protege, ashamed of Al Sharpton, ashamed of the NAACP, ashamed of how we talk about race, and ashamed of how all these different people are discriminated against, and that was not Dr. King's dream. Listen, this is what I really want to say to the folks that are out there spreading some of this garbage. Dr. King, and this is going to piss people off. Sorry. If you got feedback, Twitter, Facebook, you know where to find me. Dr. King was one of the biggest race baiters, quote unquote, that you would have ever found. If Dr. King were alive today, he would be treated the way Nelson Mandela was treated by some folks after Nelson Mandela died. Let's just put that out there right now so that everybody that wants to get nostalgic today and happy birthday, Dr. King, content of your character, dude. Yes. And there's not a lot of people that are saying that, but there's enough. And those folks that are out there taking that phrase and applying it any willy wacky type of way that they want to. And trust me, I'm watching my words carefully because this does anger me. One, he's not here to defend himself. Number two, you know what he's saying. Number three, you're taking a legacy and you're shaping it to be what you want it to be, knowing full well that you're taking roughly 25% of the intent of what was going on, the intent behind the movement, the intent behind all of the context of the time, and trying to jam it into 2014 definitions and realities that, by the way, may or may not even be true anyway. They're just perceptions. Dr. King would be by the same folks that, not all the same folks, but some of the same folks that are quoting content of character. The same folks that are taking that out of context and using it for their own means would be calling him all kinds of names. I know you're saying, you sound like Ed Schultz. When did I tune into MSNBC? Listen, truth is truth. Now, there's a lot of propaganda that does go on MSNBC. We all know that. But there are some things that are true. One of which is the very people that call Jackson, Sharpton, all the horrible names. And by the way, those of you that have listened to me since my days at VON, no, I don't do certain phrases. I don't do poverty pimps. I don't do race baiters. I don't do those phrases. In fact, with callers, if you called in and it said one of the magic phrases, that got you kicked off the air immediately. Boop, you gotta go. I don't do slurs very well like that. I don't, for either side. I don't do that with the teabaggers on the other side. You say, call somebody that's a Tea Party activist a teabagger, boop, you gotta go. Because that's a slur. And if you don't know why that's a slur, then go ask somebody in, urban legends and urban whatever they call it for the diction as to why teabagger is a slur. And by the way, that word that I just used, the 2-syllable word that I just used, is a hint. Anywho. With that said, the very people that are out there saying this would be calling him a race baiter because Dr. King was fighting for all Americans, but the whole purpose of why he was involved was because black people were being discriminated against in a very legalized way that juxtaposed state law against the Constitution. And anybody that starts getting into content of character, this was not Dr. King's dream, and does not remember that very fact, that's where that statement came from in 1963, those realities, those racial realities, and by the way, some of the same racial realities we see in America today when it comes to education, when it comes to unemployment, when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to the new Jim Crow, and mass incarceration, when you start looking at all of those things and seeing the disparities, if you think that Dr. King wasn't going to speak up on those things the way Mandela did until his health finally shut down his voice, proverbially speaking, and did not allow him to be out there anymore, some of these folks that called Nelson Mandela all kind of names, and it was embarrassing to hear that Americans were doing it. It was embarrassing to hear people call him a terrorist as his body was laying in a coffin, as the man transformed his whole spirit and looked to heal South Africa, not get vengeance. Are you paying attention, Chris Christie? Are you paying attention, Hillary Clinton? I'm just saying, and that's just a small jab. I'm just kidding. Obviously, Bridgegate and the hit list politically is not the same as going after people that imprisoned you for over 25 years. I'm just being a little facetious, but you get my point. Nelson Mandela was about healing people, and even after that, people went after him and called him hateful, called him a terrorist, called him a racial terrorist, called him all kind of things. After he had a legacy, as an old man, hair full of just snow, nothing but a white-haired old man walking out of prison after 27 years with all the illnesses and arthritis and everything else that comes from being locked up and basically thrown away for dead for 27 years until apartheid was finally to the brink of crumbling once and for all in South Africa. He changed, then became a president. Now, I want you to think about this, folks. Again, agree or disagree, find me on Twitter, find me on Facebook. The guy becomes a president, one term, and on a continent where people become president and then all of a sudden become dictator for life, or president for life, quote unquote. Well, you can have another election, but you know what's going to go down, don't you? He doesn't do that. And by the way, he could have. He had all the popularity globally to do that. He had all kind of political capital to do that. He didn't. He knew that South Africa was basically going to be reformed and reshaped in a very, very, very fundamental way. He could have made sure that was written into any type of new constitution, any new set of laws, anything. He not only does he not do that, he stays in there one term and he bounces. Then he becomes a humanitarian that people respect, and he's still on the global scene for roughly a decade after that. Despite all of those things, where people that hated the man fell in love with the man as the South African president. All of these things happen. And then from there, you're telling me that you're still gonna call him socialist, terrorist, race baiter, hateful, evil, needs to spend all of eternity in hell for what he did. So you got all these things going on in 2013, no less, with an African American president. Everything that you think should change racial attitudes towards Nelson Mandela, somebody that we got to see until he was 95 years old. You would think that, South Africa being a half a world away, that American attitudes, for some, would not have been as corrosive as it ended up being at his funeral. So are you telling me that those folks that are doing that, those folks that do that and then from there claim content of character, which, by the way, doesn't it say something about their character? But besides that point, you're telling me those folks that do that with Mandela, then claim content of character on MLK's actual birthday, really were going to be down with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. or, born Michael King Jr.? No. And that's what gets me, because I'm already reading Twitter, I'm reading Facebook, and listen, by the way, and there are people that I know that have quoted that phrase, and they believe it 100%. So let me not put it out there and make it seem as though that those that are actually saying this today, that 100% of the people that are saying that are those that don't believe in it or that are hypocrites, because that's not true. There are plenty of people, African Americans, whites, Italian Americans, Irish Americans, German Americans, Asian Americans, don't care the background of American. There are plenty of people that are quoting Dr. King today that mean it 100%. But those of you that don't live this, those of you that want to use just a couple of phrases as a shield to block ulterior motives, you know who you are. You know who you are. So that's who I'm speaking to, and that's who I'm speaking about. You. If this fits you, and you know your heart, don't sit there and say, why are you saying this to me, Lenny? Because you know who you are. You know who you are. So let's put that there. If you're doing that, just know that people like me recognize that you're doing that. And it's not only deplorable and despicable, your opinion today is going to be drowned out. When you say content of character, and I see you on Twitter, I'm going to blast you. Especially if I know that you have been calling Reverend Jackson, Al Sharpton, Ben Jealous, the NAACP, young black children. If Trayvon Martin became a thug just because of something you saw on Facebook and something you read on somebody's blog somewhere in 2012, if that is what happened in your mind, and then you're talking about content of character and you're basing somebody off of some pictures that may or may not have been taken in context, and George Zimmerman was a hero to you, and you don't understand why black people would be a little nervous about this case, I don't know, I'm going to continue to go with it. If you're willing to assume that unemployed people in urban America just don't want to go get a job, despite the unemployment numbers that came out last week showing that there were only 74,000 jobs added to the American economy in December, that over 300,000 people jumped out of the workforce yet again to get the workforce participation rate to the lowest ratio since 1978. But urban people that are poor, that are locked in generational poverty, just don't want to work. If you're saying that and judging them based exclusively off of their socioeconomic level and something you heard on television or something you read on somebody's blog place, but that becomes your definition of content of character, I am talking to you very, very directly. Specifically, I'm pointing you out. The spotlight is on you. Take a bow. You are on stage. If I see you on Twitter today, I'm going to blast you because you're foolish. I will not call you a fool, but I will definitely call you foolish. And you're probably a hypocrite on top of that. Stop quoting great people. Just because you can go read a book full of quotes and you can list off something from Abraham Lincoln in February and you can list off something about Reagan when it's his birthday, and you can list off something about MLK in January and going into Black History Month, that does not make you on par with them. It does not mean that you live out those same values. And in this very specific instance, it probably means that when you say content of character, you're using it as a shield. It's supposed to be a way of life. If you listen to the speech, and this is what gets me going. When you listen to that phrase, it's part of a speech talking about what we're supposed to be as an American people collectively, what the dream is supposed to be, the direction we're supposed to go in as a nation. Not just a series of words to use as shields in order to block people from calling you racist or calling you sexist or calling you hateful. That is not what the speech is supposed to be. And furthermore, anytime you learn a whole bunch of quotes out of a book or you got some kind of calendar that your Aunt Go-Go gave you in December as some kind of grab bag gift, and so you flip through it every year and rip off the page and you can read the quote. When you get that, that does not mean that you've just taken that into your heart and into your spirit and it's just something you live. Hopefully you do, but generally speaking, and believe me, the way social media is, the way the 24-hour news cycle is, the way political television and political media has been, people are not using these quotes because they're trying to, embrace them and internalize them and reflect upon them and say, I'm going to be a better American this year. I'm going to be a better American, lose 10 pounds, and hit the gym 5 days a week. That's basically what people say on January 1st. But by January 3rd, 2nd, afternoon of January 1st, people are right back to being divisive when it comes to politics in today's America. And so, these speeches, rather than being roadmaps for where we're supposed to go as a people, they end up being these little convenient things to pick up and say, aha! I can quote Dr. King, so I can't possibly be racist. Oh, I can quote so-and-so, so I can't possibly hate immigrants. Or, hey, I really liked Hillary Clinton when she spoke at XYZ convention, so of course I don't think that women are inferior. I just don't think they'll ever be smart enough to be president. I mean, that's what ends up happening. People do just that example. They will say one thing, and then they will still say something else in the back of their mind, and you can see it in all their actions. Either you believe it or you don't. Either women are smart enough to be president, and you don't even need to say the darn statement, or you don't believe it, and you'll eventually say something stupid. Kind of like, I don't really judge people, and I'm not really racist, Because it's really about content of your character, like Dr. King says, or he said in 1963, but Trayvon was a thug. Did you see the pictures on Facebook? Look, you find me on Facebook, find me on Twitter, agree, disagree, because the truth of the matter is, you look at the Zimmerman trial, you look at the Trayvon Martin situation, you look at the new Jim Crow, you look at where we're going in regards to the disparities when it comes to education and employment and health care and mass incarceration rates. Do you think that Dr. King wouldn't be talking about these things today? And if he were talking about these things the same exact way as contemporaries talk about these things, would he be a race baiter? Or would he still be Dr. King? Because what people don't realize is people were hitting Dr. King upside the head with bricks on the south side of Chicago. Not every town welcomed him before he died. He wasn't the most famous. He might have been one of the most famous people in the country, but he wasn't the most popular person in the country when he died. He wasn't the most embraced person in the country when he died. So let's not act like we can grab that phrase, take it out of context, just let it defend any type of critique or criticism that we get from either side of the aisle and think that it's just okay. It's not supposed to be a shield or a weapon, knuckleheads. It's supposed to be a philosophy. It's supposed to be a roadmap. It's supposed to be a goal. If you get it today, then I'm happy for us collectively. If, on the other hand, you don't, and I see you, I'm going to hit you upside the head out of love. As Tavis Smiley likes to say, I'm doing it out of love, doing it out of love. But I am going to do it on social media. Because I'm tired of people saying content of character. And by the way, what's worse than saying content of character, as I'm about to wrap up, what's worse is when people say context of character. It's not context of character, it's content of character. So if you get the quote wrong and jack it up, and then you get the meaning wrong, it's just doubly bad. For once, take a step back. Don't try to defend yourself. Try to critique yourself so that we can be a better nation because of people like Dr. King. That's my take today. What's your take? You know where to find me on Twitter, on Facebook. You know I love hearing from you. Twitter, it's same thing. LENNYMCALLISTER. Same thing as it is every day when I talk to you. In the meanwhile, I'm heading over to PCNC. Going to do some stuff over there at the Pittsburgh Cable News Channel. Looking forward to vibing with the good folks over there. Vibing with you again on Thursday. In the meanwhile, have a great MLK Day on his actual birthday. We'll talk about the day of service coming up on Monday. In the meanwhile, you do your thing. You enjoy your day. You be safe. You know I love you. And let's genuinely do this as one big team, as Dr. King would like us to do. I'll talk to you soon. TCNGB. Take care and God bless. Peace.